Hello, 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 and welcome back to the GTD Podcast. I'm the Norix, and I speak for the podcast. And we're back again, blobbity blue, bobbity boo, all of those things. I don't know why I'm singing. I started unintentionally doing like a singing rhyme, like halfway through that intro. So that's an oops on my part, but I'm here with the usuals. You know who they are. Devin.
Hello.
Yes, he's cold currently.
And I am Matthew.
Oh, I didn't even have to introduce you. We're making progress. It only took 30 episodes.
Who is very tempted to start singing the entire podcast. Not necessarily good singing, just singing.
No.
Everything I say.
Listen, I'm gonna reveal why I started singing. I mean, it's not a good reason, but I've been listening to a lot of musicals recently, and it's just on my mind. So,
well, I just sing at random.
Rhyme singing is just in my head right now. So that's
You're
probably
just making
why I did that.
You're just tempting me to sing all of my lines.
Don't do that. That would, like, this podcast is a mess as is. We don't need that on top of it.
Yeah.
But anyways, well, welcome back to the GT Podcast. I guess I should explain why we didn't have an episode last week. We didn't. That's the explanation. There you go. Now you know why. Yeah, they were both asleep.
No, I was awake. Devin wasn't.
It doesn't really.
We couldn't wake Devin up.
It was an unfortunate turn of events. I know.
Yeah.
So, I guess I should apologize for that, but at this point, you should just expect it. Like, I don't know why. Ever since we came back, this has happened. For some reason, fate just wants the podcast to be bi-weekly instead of weekly. So if one doesn't happen next week, if a podcast episode doesn't happen next week, don't be surprised.
But if it does, the world is going to end.
If it does happen next week, then something very strange has happened. Because
Cthulhu woke up.
No.
Why Cthulhu? Why would
I don't know, the first one I thought of.
So you're saying he's asleep right now?
I mean, yeah. That's generally how Cthulhu works. Cthulhu's whole deal is that he's asleep at the bottom of Relaya, and him waking up just means the end of the world.
No, what's in the one that...
What?
Wait. There are a lot of Lovecraft's creatures that just spell the end of the world if they wake up, aren't there?
I mean, well, yeah, because they're pure. The whole point of Lovecraft's universe is that essentially anything outside of, like, everything outside of Earth is just chaotic forces that are hell-bent on killing everything. It's the Lovecraft's universe is bent on this idea that mankind is fighting a losing battle of keeping the chaos at bay, and eventually we'll lose. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, because, you know.
Huh.
But yeah, if any of the larger... What? What do you say?
I said, how did we start the battle, I wonder?
I mean, the universe is just what it is. A lot of Lovecraft's stuff is basically based on him being afraid of everything. He made a story about... One of his books is literally about air conditioning because he was scared of the technology.
Yes, I remember
air
this.
Conditioning. So a lot of his stories are very much based on his own fear of a lot of things. I mean, like, the color out of space is literally derived from him learning that there are colors outside of the human view of spectrum, and that scared him. So, like, you know, that's something you have to keep in mind when you read any of his works. It's probably something he was scared of.
Wow,
and he was scared of a lot of things. Whoops. Well, doesn't matter.
And then people ended up at some point really liking the Cthulhu mythos and taking it.
I mean, I suppose a lot of works have been written. The Cthulhu mythos is like pretty prevalent now because of H.P. Lovecraft and the people that loved his work. So yeah. But anyways, that's a good side tangent right before we get into things. Let's just call that the opening, shall we?
Sure, why not?
Cthulhu and all that. But yes, we have several things coming up in the show today. We'll be discussing what we've been doing this past 2 weeks, I guess. You know, we'll also be discussing trailers, except we don't have trailers, so no trailer. Then we'll be moving on to host topics in the news, depending on what host topics we have. And the news we have, it's quite a bit because lots of things have happened over the past 2 weeks. So we have I guess it's not that much overall, but it's in an amount. Jeez, it's a decent amount of news, is what I was trying to say. Specifically, we're going to be discussing. Whoops, what the heck is going on? That was weird. Sorry, things are going on my computer screen, and it's freaking me out. Anyways, we'll be discussing the Nintendo Online expansion pack, just to give you like a taste of. Oh my god, this is the worst opening ever.
A taste of what?
What are you doing? The point I'm trying to Let me rephrase that. I'm giving you a taste of what is to come up. So we'll be discussing the expansion, the new Nintendo expansion pass, something to do with 5e level up thing, if you know what I'm talking about. Something to do with Elden Ring because of the thing that they're doing, because words are failing me. And also just a very interesting article I stumbled across. Oh boy, I can't talk today. Let's just forget that happened and move forward.
Sounds good.
So yes, what have you been doing this week, Devin?
I've been playing a little bit of Minecraft. Like, actually, this time it's literally just a tiny bit.
Okay.
We have a friend up in Canada, and he contacted Matthew. We have a server together, and he hasn't been on in a long time, like weeks and weeks. And he contacted Matthew yesterday and said, "Hey, you guys want to jump on and hang out?" And so we did, and that was a lot of fun.
All right.
But other than that, I haven't really played a lot of Minecraft. I've been writing a ton. I think I wrote about 50,000 words the past week, which is half of the novel.
That's quite a lot.
Yeah. It's a ton of words.
True.
Anything else outside of or just things you want to, it's been 2 weeks.
I tried to visit you, but I found out you were asleep on the day that I decided to go visit you, and I was like, well, that was dumb luck.
Well,
yeah,
that's how things go sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I got my cats fixed 2 days ago, and I woke up at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
So and also it's just so I've been dealing with that. Luckily, nothing went wrong.
Woo! That's good.
Yeah. Now I have
infections or anything.
Now I have spayed and neutered cats, which is all fun and games. So that's what.
Yeah, that's all I've been doing.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Matthew, what's been up?
I had a sentence in my head that I was going to say. Okay.
All right then.
In regards to gaming, haven't actually done much D&D this week. Both the things I'm DMing didn't occur this week because stuff. And then I played in a D&D game. Additionally, and our characters are idiots. The most intelligent people, wisest, all of them. But I also started playing a single player survival world. It's just my own thing where I mess around, and that's fun. Minecon Live was cool. That wasn't this week, I don't think, but
no,
that was last Saturday. But
well, we could have covered it live.
Well, it happened at 10 a.m.
I'm just saying, we could have covered it the day of.
Oh yeah.
But no.
That was when Devin fell asleep.
Sorry, I can't control my sleep. I mean, but I chose not to apparently. Hey, I got up early this morning. I got up at like 10 today or something.
Wow, really?
11.
I got up at 6.
Wow.
That's kept me up late.
Because I, as a person, enjoy waking up weirdly early.
I do too.
Well,
and if I get to bed at the right time, I wake up at like 5 because I don't sleep more than 7 hours for some reason.
Wow.
Cat issues. Sio, is that it, Matthew?
I also worked on a script for a little project, a Minecraft project, and I've been intimidated by looking at an editing software.
I see.
It's mostly the editing software is kind of intense on the computers. It's a heavy duty editing software in the way of, it uses a lot of power. So it lags more than other things.
Well,
So it's like, Also, I'm going to be walking away occasionally because I'm doing a lot.
That's fine. All right, is that it? Is that it for you, though?
I think so.
All right.
Sure, we'll go with that.
All right, then. Moving on to me in that case. What have I been up to? Well, oh yeah, I guess I should. No, wait. Did I mention Sora's in Smash now? Did I mention that last episode? That happened 3 weeks ago, right? I mentioned that on episode. I genuinely don't remember.
I think you did.
Regardless, if I haven't, not that it's new or small news, everybody knows about this at this point. But yeah, so Sora's in Smash. So I briefly loaded up Smash Brothers again and started playing because I have the second Smash pack. So I've been playing that some as Sora. Sora's really fun to play as, actually. He's very floaty and he's like simple and floaty, but feels really fun to play as. So I'm happy enough for his inclusion. It gave me a fun thing to play as. Outside of that, I have not really been playing any other games outside of, I dipped back into, rather, I should say, I started replaying Ashura's Wrath, which neither of you know about. I mean, I've probably mentioned it to you before. It's imagine an anime as a video game. That's what it is. It is essentially a super over-the-top action game that is like anime the video game because of all of what it is. And it has these super over-the-top cutscenes and fight scenes and ridiculous stuff. It's fun. It's mostly lost the word there. It's mostly input commands in regards to like quick time events. That's the word I was looking for. It's mostly quick time events, but it's fun. So I've recently been replaying that just because I like the game. But other than that, I've realized something. And that's the fact that I don't think I'll ever be happy with anything I create. Because I was trying to map out some stuff for D&D. This is like a minor thing, but I have like a map program that I make stuff in, and I was just doing a map thing, and I wasn't happy. I just was never happy with it. I never ended up being happy with what I was creating. I just looked at it and I was like, I'm never going to be happy about this. I'm never going to like this. So that's funny. This happened a little bit ago, so this is less fresh in my mind, but that's one of those things. Yeah, that's what? No, stop meowing at me. No. Anyways, yes, that's about all I've been doing, I think. Just, standard 3 kittens takes a lot out of you. So,
Oh, yeah.
Why would it do that? It's just 3 cats.
Hold on a second.
3 living animals.
Yeah, I know. No, stop squirming. Go over there. Okay. But yes, I suppose that's all I've been up to. Nothing super interesting. But anyways, so let's move on to trailers. Oh wait, there's no trailers. Moving on to host topics. So, no host topics, eh?
It's a segment.
No.
All right. Good to know. No host topics, eh?
It's cold, okay? My brain doesn't work very well in the cold.
That's not an excuse.
I just always somehow forget that host topics are a thing until the podcast.
Why?
I don't know.
My God, you're useless.
I mean, regarding gaming, kind of, yeah.
You should come up with something beforehand, Matthew.
I mean, even with it widened out. That's the problem. I just forget that the host topics are even a thing until the podcast happens.
Okay, I got one.
Then I'm like, oh yeah, those are a thing. Uh-oh.
Real mundane one. What is the proper way to mute your mic when there's construction going on behind you?
Break your mic off and throw it behind you.
Press the mute button.
Okay.
Why would this be an issue?
Well, I mean, I think it's just you just don't mute your mic. You don't need to.
I mean, if it's not picking up, then it shouldn't necessarily be an issue.
Oh no, it's picking up the sound. You just don't need to mute it.
Why though?
And if you're not live streaming, just wait to record a different time.
No. On an online game, if you jump into like a Call of Duty game with live speak chat or whatever it's called.
Okay.
Never mind. This is a bad host topic.
I don't know what you're trying to get at.
Is this something that happened to you?
No.
Presumably not. Anyways, I guess no host topic. I've already explained multiple times why I don't usually have a host topic. So there you go. In that case, moving on to news, which is the meatiest segment anyways, so whatever. So first of all, Nintendo recently this was like 3 weeks ago, so stop it. This was like 3 weeks ago, so it's pretty old news at this point, but it's worth talking about in my opinion because I haven't gotten to say anything about it yet. So recently during a Nintendo Direct, Nintendo revealed that they will be adding N64 and Sega Genesis games to the Nintendo Switch Online like you can play those games now alongside NES and SNES games. So it's the virtual console. That's what it is, alongside the virtual console. So they're adding N64 games and Sega Genesis games to the virtual console, which is, I guess, kind of cool. But the main problem with this comes as the fact that when they revealed the price, now the standard Nintendo Switch Online is about $20 a year. You know, $3.99 a month or $7.99 for 3 months. So it's about $20 over the course of an entire year. And what you get for that $20 is access to online, cloud gaming, or cloud saving rather, and a honestly very small amount of NES and SNES games that it's like roughly 20 to 30 for each individual thing. So it's like roughly 30 NES games and roughly 30 SNES games. Most of those games are probably not worth playing at this point, except for some of them. And also, they're just ROMs. So, like, it's really not worth, like I've discussed this before, but what you were getting beforehand was not worth the price anyways, because of that fact. Like, it's cool, I guess, that you can play these games, but you could also just use ROM hacks, which is what we have been doing, because that's all they are at this point. And that's all they're using. They're just using ROMs to make this possible. So it's ultimately very unworthwhile. And also, like, the fact that you have to pay, this is something that the other gaming companies have done for a long time, which is making you pay on online service or in order to play online games, which is kind of ridiculous if you think about it, because this is only the case for the console market. Playing online on PC, that's just your internet bill. That's a separate thing. Like, they don't, like, in order to play online games on consoles, you're both paying for your internet bill, so you have internet anyways, and then you're paying these companies so you can use their online services. So this is a thing that's been the case for over 10 years at this point, ever since like the PS3 and Xbox and stuff. It's been the case for a long time, and it's pretty ingrained in the gaming industry at this point. It doesn't stop it from being a bad thing and ridiculous, but it's something that a lot of people have accepted. But Nintendo has only embraced this trend as of the Nintendo Switch. So they were the last in the console variety to make you pay for online, period. And what you're getting for making you pay for online is piss poor. It's just a bunch of ROMs of games that not a lot of people care about. Not to mention that they were selling these some of these games on their virtual console market before anyways. So, you know, ultimately, it's just bad. That was a long-winded way of saying that. But getting back around to the main point is the fact that for the N64 and Sega Genesis games, they call it the N64 Online Expansion Pack, which adds another $30 on top of your annual fee. So it goes from $20 a year to $50 a year, period. So I guess, I don't know what the price ranges is for months, since they haven't announced those yet, as far as I'm aware.
Wow.
The other thing you get with this is weirdly, something else that is weird about this is that if you get this expansion pack, you also gain access to the DLC for a game they're selling, which is really weird. I've never seen a company package paid DLC with an online expansion before. That is new for me, and that is absolutely ridiculous. it's like they realized they couldn't justify I think at the moment, like 7 or so N64 games and like roughly the same amount of Sega Genesis games for the extra $30 overall. Like, that's an annual fee, so it's not like you're paying $30 a month. That's an overall annual fee, so it's $50 a year as opposed to $20 a year. But like, there isn't really a way you can justify that price increase for what you're getting, which is still ridiculous because, first of all, it's not going to stop people from just ROM hacking anyways, because that's what we have been doing. Like, ROMs still, like, you can just go ROM hacking, and then, like I said, they're just using ROMs for this purpose anyways. So you can just play these games with ROMs if you so choose, or better yet, go out and get an N64 and an original N64 and just play these games physically, which is what a lot of people do anyways. So it's really ridiculous, the price increase, because like I honestly can't think of a way to justify that price increase. Can either of you?
No.
All right, that's fair. But yeah,
No.
It's
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. I will say you can buy the Animal Crossing DLC separately, but it's just really weird that they packaged it with the online expansion pass in the first place. It's just super weird to me that they did that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the main reason they did it is to make the extra $30 seem more worth it, I guess. I don't know. It's really weird. But yeah, that's what happened with the Nintendo Switch Online. Ultimately, it just is a very large amount of money for very little, ultimately. And also, this has caused a very large uproar, as it should, considering how ridiculous it is. But it is, maybe they'll lower it, but maybe they won't. I don't know. Nintendo is very set in their ways, as are a lot of Japanese companies, which is the biggest problem Nintendo has. I have said this for a while. The biggest problem with Nintendo overall is that it's a Japanese company. Because a lot of Japanese companies are kind of set in their ways and do things their way. So, there isn't a lot that can be done about that. But anyways, I did that one first because it would be a lot of me talking, so I can move on to other things that maybe you guys can actually talk about. It's funny, isn't it? I mean, Matthew, you have a Nintendo Switch, and I assume you pay for online. Like, do you think overall that is what you're getting is worth that price?
I actually don't know if I pay for online. I think we paid for a month.
All right.
You're pretty sure you're not paying it anymore?
Yeah.
You should. Okay, just make
I
sure.
don't know what happened, but I don't think we're paying.
Good.
All right,
make
then.
sure. He doesn't use his Twitch anymore. He doesn't use his Switch anymore. You don't.
Think about using it sometimes.
You think about using it.
You have so many games you could play. But yeah. All right then. So yeah, I get I don't really have anything else to say about it to some degree. It's just, it is what it is. Like, there isn't really a justification for it because of the nature of it and also the nature of the gaming industry as a whole in that regard. So, anyways, moving on to our next bit of news. This one is I think you will find fairly interesting. So recently, what do they call it? I guess just Level Up. So there is a advanced 5th edition coming out. Or rather, there's a Kickstarter for a advanced D&D 5e Advanced. It's called Level Up Advanced 5th edition. This is open gaming, so it's not officially by Wizard of the Coast, but this is being made like it's a standalone at like kind of expansion of the regular 5e, and it sells itself as 5e but with more depth and diversity. So it's like the 5e rule set, but it has supposedly more depth and like, what's the term?
Wizards go back down to a D4 hit points. One spell.
Oh.
Yeah, like there's like more features, I think, and like a more robust and like crunchier rule set attached to it, but it's still 5e.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a Kickstarter, so if you want to go back that, you can. It's Level Up Advanced 5th edition. It's on Kickstarter, so it'll probably succeed. This seems pretty interesting to me because, like, and I don't know the full contents of it. There's a lot of, you can also go to the website, Level Up. Like, I think that's just what they're called. It's Level Up.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Level Up 5e.com is their website, and they're just like what was I gonna say? I lost track of my freaking, yeah, like they're trying to make like they're essentially taking 5e and then turning it into a slightly crunchier system, but with all of the like simplicity of 5e. I'm not entirely like, what's the term? Like, I don't know the full deal of what this encompasses. I do know that they're adding, I think it's 4 new classes. There's like 4 new classes, a bunch of like new worlds, because they're releasing 3. They're releasing the players, what is the Adventurer's Guide. Yeah, the core set consists of 3 books: the Adventurer's Guide, Trials and Treasure, and Monstrous Menagerie, which is like the monster manual, magic items, exploration and journeys, game mastery, and like the core rule sets. So like they're going all out for this, really. The books look pretty chunky as well. They're not, they are nice looking. They're nice looking books. Personally, I don't know how I really feel about this overall. Because
I think it would be interesting.
I'm interested, but at the same time, over these past couple of years, I've kind of come to realize where I stand with D&D 5e. And like, I don't know really I'm not sure if this can really fix my problems with 5e.
And then it fixes all of them.
I mean, maybe it will. I don't know. I'll probably get this when it comes out.
Changes combat into segment.
It looks. What'd you say?
I said it moves combats to segments.
No. But yeah, overall, I don't really have like a major opinion about this. I just kind of, I don't know. Like, Devin, you're kind of burnt out with D&D or just tabletops. What do you think?
Well, I'm burnt out with 5e because it feels less like people and more like superheroes. Because the simply the way that the 5e mechanics work, you could play a game set on Earth and you could get shot multiple times and be fine, and your character would then recover the next day.
I think you
And thinking about
Yeah.
it, no, thinking about it from a 5e set in real life perspective makes the game seem really, really supernatural because the characters
yeah,
are invincible. You can get shot multiple times. You can get hacked by a
that-
sword.
that's one of those problems.
Which is, well, no, it's where the hit points come in. When you get
Yes.
shot, you're not actually getting shot. The bullets are getting absorbed into your hit points. So you're dodging them or
Right.
barely getting
With bullets,
scratched
it's more
by
like
them.
you're hiding behind something just in.
Yeah,
The
but
hit
still
point
taking damage.
the hit point mechanic has always been a very abstract thing in pretty much every tabletop
has.
system.
It has, but
Yeah.
the key
But,
thing
you know.
is the difference between the hit point system and the death mechanic system. In first edition, the very first edition of D&D, the death mechanics were you reach 0, you die.
Yes.
And so DMs would of course be like, that's a little bit silly. We're gonna make it a little bit harder to die because
Make it -10.
that's ridiculous. And so yeah, -10 ended up becoming a general rule.
Oh man, oh my gosh.
Most people just-
So long. It's been so long since I heard of -10. I genuinely forgot it was a feature.
I think
I
it
want
became the
to
main
use
feature of like Pathfinder or not.
-10, I completely forgot about that. Oh my god.
I like it so much.
So anyway,
crap.
I am a first and second edition D&D player. I enjoy the mystery and easy death of the earlier editions because it makes it far more realistic where you have to actually break the rules of the game. The DM has to play God and make it so you survive when the rules say you shouldn't in order to in order to keep characters alive.
I mean, you're certainly not alone in that aspect. D&D Advanced Second Edition is still some of like people's favorite set of the entire like saga of D&D in general.
Oh,
and
sure.
Personally, I get it. It has some of the best material out of anything in the series.
Yeah, I think I like it just simply because you have less hit points and you get killed faster. And so fighting is not the way that people solve problems because a fight equals a loss of resources. And then you take 1 day to heal 1 hit point. And so if you're like 5th level, oh man, you get into a fight with some orcs. You're gonna spend a town healing.
Long rest, because that was the whole point of short rests originally, was the fact that short rests were like, what were they, like an hour or something, 30 minutes? I don't even remember what they were originally, but the whole point was that short rests were that and long rests were like a little, like the point of those mechanics was that because of your low resources, you could, like, I feel like it's unheard of nowadays to rest in a dungeon. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I've ever heard of or seen people in 5e take the time to rest inside of a dungeon. That was like a semi-common thing back then because of the... Yes, Matthew, I know about our thing. That isn't what I'm talking about.
Adventure is like...
In Adventure is like...
You'd rest in a dungeon all the time. And unlike in old D&D, where, you know, the DM would have random encounters happen, nothing happens during the 8 hours for some reason half the time. You can just rest in a dungeon for a
8
long
hours.
Rest and be fine.
Well, back in those days, you actually had to be careful. There was the whole cocking and boarding of doors to make sure you're safe.
So I want
being mindful.
In Adventure is like,
I want to mention one of the
go for it.
One of my favorite games of D&D that I've ever played was a game called Labyrinth. It was a game called Labyrinth Lords. I think which is basically just I think it's an actual RPG, but it's like a split off of old D&D. And the DM had this book full of different classes. You could play as a Jedi if you rolled the right stats. You could play as an ancient Sumerian. You could play as all these different just things depending on what your stats were. So if you rolled really low intelligence, you could end up playing as like a big ogre giant monster or something. I don't know, a giant spider. I don't know. You can play as all sorts of fun stuff.
Yeah.
And so it was a lot of fun because no matter what you were playing, your stats were going to be fairly similar. Maybe you'd have one ability that was unique. So like I played as a minotaur, so I had like a horn attack or something. And it was a chaotic game. But it was a lot of fun because what mattered was the characters and the adventures, and like we were party venturing in another dimension. It was weird. Everything about it was weird, but the stuff that was there was important. And we had like I had 8 hit points.
Yeah.
And if I reached 0, I'd die.
I mean,
And so it was fun. And Matthew didn't enjoy it as much.
I think I
but it was a
remember
lot
that.
of fun. Yeah.
well, yeah, that's not, I do.
Yeah, I was just a little confused.
Yeah, that kind of thing in 5e, it's like, oh, you're playing a minotaur. What class are you? It's like, no, my class is minotaur. It's like, oh, your class is minotaur. It's like, yes, I am a minotaur. That's what I am. That's all I am. That's all that matters in terms of the stat stuff. I'm a minotaur. I have one ability from being a minotaur.
Yeah, I mean,
but in terms of all the other stuff, like I'm big and strong, so I'm obviously big and strong because of minotaur, and my character serves a god of some kind, and it's like, oh, so you're a cleric. It's like, no, I just happen to be a minotaur that serves this guy. It's detaching the story stuff from the crux is very nice. And
yeah, 5e sort of unintentionally, maybe intentionally, I don't know.
I think it's intentional.
So because 5e attempted to be very simple, and it succeeded, and it brought in a lot of new people.
Oh yeah,
and is definitely like the best place to start for D&D period because of its simplicity.
Definitely.
But ultimately, that kind of created this weird rift between a mechanical standpoint and a narrative standpoint.
Yeah.
Or just in general.
Who doesn't want to be a superhuman? Who doesn't want to be a superhuman who can't die, who can get stabbed multiple times while lying on the ground unconscious and still live? The cleric
that's pretty dumb.
To bring them to 1 hit point, and then they got stabbed again, and then they got 1 hit point, and they got stabbed again. They got 1 hit point, and they got stabbed again. They got 1 hit point, and they got stabbed again. At some point here, the guy is going to die if this is realistic. But the mechanics of the game don't let that happen.
If you're a zombie, if your character is a zombie, I can justify it with undead fortitude.
No. You're casting healing word. No, Matthew. There's one guy unconscious. There's an enemy. The enemy walks up to the unconscious guy and stabs him. He loses 2 death saves. The cleric casts healing word to heal him up to 1 hit point. The guy stabs the guy again. He does. He wakes up, but then he gets stabbed again and brought down to negative. And then he gets stabbed and brought down 2 death saves. But then the cleric heals him. Then he gets stabbed and brought down death saves. I know the actions don't work exactly here, but
well, yeah, because the 5e is, I think, very
stabbed 700
is
times.
very gamey. And I mean that in the sense that
it is
more determined. It is more focused on mechanically how it's weird, right? Because
it's a very efficient, it's a very simple and effective way to get people into crunch, though.
Yeah,
and crunch, like 3.5 is even more crunchy than
3.5 is great. I love the idea of 3.5. I love the crunch in 3.5. It's super cool, and it allows you to do so much because of that, which is the main thing I'm about to get. Well, not get to, but like one of the things I'm talking about is, in terms of like the gaminess of 5e, is the fact that it is really weirdly restrictive because of its own gaminess. It feels very restrictive and boxy. It's not like, your thing where, you're an orc and then you can do a bunch of stuff or something. Like you said minotaur, I said orc, whatever. I meant minotaur. It is restrictive in terms of bringing you into these boxes of, this is your class, this is your subclass, here are your hit points, this is your race. These are the things you can do because of that.
Yep.
And ultimately, just playing D&D for as long as I have, especially 5e, it really does get vaguely tiring because of that system. But also the other thing about that is, I think I've talked about this before, but the concept of creating and molding with 5e is ridiculously difficult. Molding 5e to fit what you want is almost impossible without literally breaking the system down and making something new.
Hey, one person in this podcast is doing that.
Well, I'm aware of what you're doing, Matthew. But the reason I talk about this is because when we talk about yeah, the reason I'm talking about this is because when I talk about the gaminess of 5e, I'm talking about how when you play a video game, it is restrictive in regards to what you can do and with the path you're going down. D&D 5e is also very similar in that regard because of its mechanics, especially the spellcasting system, which, oh boy, is that thing restrictive. I don't even need to get into why it is. It just is. Just read the spell descriptions and you'll understand why.
Yeah, it's like prestidigitation. You can do this, 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 or this.
Yeah. So it becomes very hard. And like,
I think 5e is set in a computer simulation.
Yeah, I get that.
That's the only explanation for how the magic works.
I also get that D&D in general has always been about dungeon delving and fighting dragons and stuff. Like, it's mainly for medieval settings. You can do other things, but it works the best in a semi-medieval fantasy set. That's what it's built for.
Mm-hmm.
So I get the concept of like, well, why don't you just use
a Renaissance
system if you're using something else? And
by the way,
what?
By the way, I'm a history buff. When people say medieval setting, I think what they mean is medieval Renaissance setting.
Oh, like, yeah, definitely.
Around the time of the Enlightenment, because it's like every time people are like, you know what, we're gonna play D&D. You know what, we're gonna do it in a medieval setting. What's medieval mean? Well, you see, kings and stuff and knights.
Yeah, definitely it's definitely sort of the early Renaissance period is what most people think
Renaissance without guns, because you don't want the feudal peasants mucking around in the dirt, right? No, you have a very different, much more, and you don't want racism, constant racism everywhere. And like a really overbearing church controlling everything and being like the international arbiter. It's like, no, you're talking about Renaissance.
It's Renaissance.
But everyone says medieval, so it doesn't matter. They mean the same thing now.
Medieval, when you say culturally, when you say
fantasy,
medieval, people know what you're talking about. But generally speaking, there are different periods within that time frame that don't get explored a lot.
That is
but
true.
Going back to D&D really quickly, so so it's really hard, like taking advanced D&D or even 3.5, you have these crunchy systems that, because of their heavy crunch, allow you to do a lot more things for a lot less. Because in 5e, if you want to do something that isn't in the rules, you kind of just have to be really creative, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but the system is set up in a way that really what's the word? Not prohibits, like discourages creativity, kind of. It discourages you trying to go above. It discourages you trying to do something different within the system.
I would like
because of how difficult that is.
I would like to read a sentence from the Dungeon Master's Guide on page 21, under a section titled "The Monster as a Player Character."
Yes.
Imagine a section like that in 5e. It doesn't work.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah. It's not even in the lexicon.
Yeah, it doesn't exist.
On occasion, one player or another will evidence a strong desire to operate as a monster, conceiving a playable character as a strong demon, devil, or dragon, or one of the most powerful sorts of undead creatures. This is done principally because the player sees the desired monster character as superior to his peers and likely to provide a dominant role for him or her in the campaign. A moment of reflection will bring them to the unalterable conclusion that the game is heavily weighed towards mankind.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can let them know, like, hey, you can play a monster, but like the good guys win and you're not the good guy.
Yeah, it's because, and I'd also like to point out that the reason that paragraph exists is because Gary Gygax understood how players are, I think, the best out of anybody who followed in his footsteps, because he was, first of all, the thing he was more than anything was a DM. Let's get that out of the way first. He was a man who first and foremost was a DM and player before he was a massive
designer, a company owner.
Oh yeah, that thing.
He did not like being a businessman. He did not like being a an official game designer. He has a whole freaking section in this. I don't remember where it is, but where he's like, I have chosen to use the word something man with a man at the end rather than having the word folk at the end of everything.
I see.
It's so funny.
Yes, like Gary Gygax, I mean, if you look at the history of a lot of the modules he created, it was kind of like, I did this because my players wanted me to. I did this because my players thought it would be fun. Like, he was a DM before anything else. I mean, D&D was created on the basis that he wanted something a little more in depth than the war games he played. That's like the basis. So ultimately, there's that. But the reason I bring this up is because 5e does kind of discourage you from going out of the line of what you choose, because you have these races, but you can only really play the races that they stat out for you, because there isn't really a way, there isn't a way in the rules to just play as anything. There isn't a way to do that. And ultimately, if you wanted to do that, you just have to create your own thing, which means you need to be creative. And I'm not saying that's impossible, but it's certainly more difficult in 5e than any other system has ever made it.
Because 5e is so smooth.
Yeah, it's this.
It's cohesive. 5e is so cohesive that anything outside of 5e gets stuck on the outside.
Yeah, it's very cohesive and in its own thing. So, and that's one of those things, right? And like, put on your tinfoil hats, it's conspiracy theory time. You could argue that this is very intentional on Wizards of the Coast part to make people buy more books. You know, in regards to like, you want to use our system, buy all the books because you can't do it otherwise.
Yeah, 5e. I mean, yeah, and it's a really well done. It's a good marketing game. I mean, it's like, a product.
Yes, it is. And
capitalism created D&D.
It's just one of those things, because when I see people argue that like D&D 5e is very free form and you can do whatever you want, it's like, well, you can, but the rules don't help you in doing so. That's kind of the whole point. Like, there aren't any rules to help you do anything you want. If you want to do anything, you just have to create it. And the rules, not everybody wants to go through that process.
Well, and also the rules can get in your way. So like someone can be like, wait, that's not in the rules. And it's like, well, it's in my rules. And it's like, yeah, but there's this thing in the rules that contradicts your rules.
Mm-hmm. And rules loring is definitely the heaviest it's ever been in 5e. With the exception of, I guess, 4e probably did have quite a lot of rules lawyers, but nobody.
I was gonna say, I think 3.5 has more rules lawyers than 5e, simply because it is. No, I think 3.5 has worse rule there are less rules lawyers because there are so many rules. In order to know all of them, you have to have just like a massive brain that you decided to fill with all this D&D information because you're so smart. And 5e has a very comprehensive rule system, so there are a lot more people that get all of the rules and then can be rules lawyers about it.
I am unfortunately
you're
one
right.
of those people now because I've played D&D enough to the point that I actually think I know all the rules, and I'm ashamed of that fact. I'm ashamed of the fact that I actually somehow managed to memorize all the rules. And then I started recently, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I recently started writing down the damage type of my weapon so I could be more accurate as to what I'm doing. And I'm like, oh no, what have I done?
Okay.
So I'm like, I do this amount of this type of damage. Thank you very much. Like, it's useful information, but my goodness, it's like, why am I doing this? Anyways, but yeah, the D&D 5e is incredibly smooth and is set in its own ways, and it just does not have anything set out or ruled out for you to do anything beyond what it is, which is one of the major problems with 5e as a whole. Anyways, 5e Advanced Edition may or may not fix those problems. I don't know. But I'm just not entirely, like I was saying before, I'm just not entirely sure what they could do. Like, there's definitely ways to make 5e crunchier and more like in depth. But given how the rule set is like created and garnered, I'm not entirely sure what they could do. Like, you can always just add more races and add more classes, but that's what the system was designed for. The system was designed for more races and more classes just being created. Not by players, mind you, by the companies.
Yeah. And well, I mean, the players can also create new races and classes, but they can't fundamentally change the fact that characters are invincible and that's well woven into the way the rest of the game works.
Yeah.
Because the amount of time you put into this character. No, think about it. The amount you spend a lot of time making this character, you don't want them to have 8 hit points and then die as soon as they get poked, because it took you possibly an hour to make this guy. So you get invested in it. And that's why the death mechanics work the way they do. They have to be there. It's all cohesive. It's just that the death mechanics are so unrealistic that when I want to sit down and play a grounded game, I'm just like, oh,
I get it. Like, honestly,
I want people to feel like they can actually die, but they won't.
Also, I want to bring back up -10. I genuinely did forget -10 was a mechanic, period. Wow. I genuinely forgot about it. Until you mentioned it just now. I was like, oh my gosh, you're right.
I like it so much.
That's how it worked before. I can't believe I forgot about that. Because that's how, in the early days of our D&D, that's how we ruled it. Originally, when we were playing 5e early time, we were like, yeah, it's -10 if you go down. And we just kind of forgot about death saves. Death saves as a concept is kind of ridiculous. I'm not going to get into that, though. Anyways, but listen, I've ranted a very long time at this point. I don't need to rant more about specific mechanics. But overall, though, what was I going to say? That's what it is. Overall, the biggest reason, like what you were saying, like before about your game that you played in, where you could be any class or race like any race you wanted, and it all depended on like stats and stuff.
Yeah.
Like D&D 5e is very afraid of letting players play monsters or creatures that are not medium in size.
Yeah.
Like, you get this ridiculous situation where you're playing minotaurs that are medium in size, or I don't know. It's like, I get why you're doing that. You're doing it because to make the system more simple and easier to consume and easier to deal with. But it doesn't make it more interesting. Like removing the fact that all the races used to not age at the same rate. All races in D&D age at the same rate. It's ridiculous. Or 5 specifically. It's ridiculous. Boring.
Well, I mean, orcs are now not inherently evil.
Let's not get into that.
They
But
are.
goblins are. But goblins aren't also. But then they are. But then orcs are also inherently evil sometimes, depending on.
Orcs are inherently evil. Grunge is making them inherently evil. He created them.
As far as the lore of D&D goes, orcs have always been seen as like, because that's the thing, right? It's kind of like the same thing with drow. It's like they're an entire race of evil elves that worship an evil god. And yes, you could technically play one, but the only reason you can is because of drits. That's basically the only reason drow are playable in 5e is because of drits. Yeah. It's like, oh, one of them was not evil. Therefore, have a party of drow.
Yeah. And then they will be played by characters who don't understand drow very well. And or just one guy who's just like, I just want to be able to cast. Actually, no, they're in the core rules.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh. Oh, that hurts. Yeah, you can just
drow, they're not even I'd like to point out that drow aren't even technically a race. They're a fucking sub-race of elf.
Just turn off your brain. It'll be immersive.
When you get elf in 5e, you have to pick the drow sub-race of elf. So your main, that's another thing that's weird. Why are they sub-races? Why aren't they just different races?
Because they're sub-races from elves. They branched off from elves a long time ago.
I mean, I don't know. It's weird. Anyways, that's a different
Technically, when you think about it, it's probably...
Yo, Aaron, in the first edition, wait, frick, which one is it? No, wait. Okay. In the first edition book, there were gray elves.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
there were
first edition is kind of weird.
There were some weird different types of elves.
Well,
there wasn't enough distinction between what the frick the difference was between a wood elf, a gray elf, and a whatever the other elves were. There were like a bunch.
Greyhawk was
High
also
elf.
primary setting.
Yeah,
and also let's not forget the fact that D&D is kind of inherently not tainted, but rooted in the fact that it was very much inspired by Tolkien's works.
Oh, sure.
You know, a lot of fantasy stuff is in general, but I think D&D gets it off the most because of the way it utilizes races and stuff like that. So you have like orcs, and they're usually the villain, they're big brutes. You have halflings who are essentially hobbits. At least
halflings are basically hobbits. What are you talking about? They're just jolly, happy, peaceful.
Anyways, okay.
Wait a second.
I think I've officially gotten severely off topic at this point. Anyways,
wait, what were we talking about?
We're gonna quickly go back to level up. What do you guys think?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, just to get your general opinion, since I've been talking for the past fucking hour.
From what I've seen of it, it looks and sounds like either some more classes for D&D, or if they try to touch the rules, they'll end up making more rules to keep track of, which doesn't sound particularly useful.
Yeah, because that's the thing, right? Without literally
I'm sure some people will like it.
Without literally creating new rules or trying to open up the D&D 5e a little more. Like, I don't know. It's very hard to make 5e a crunchier system. You know, because they'll probably add new rules. Like I said, I don't really know. Yeah, I guess the main thing they're going for is more customization options. I honestly like it looks interesting. I will say that, and I will give my full opinion when it comes out.
it looks like it's a product for people who don't want to have to learn a new rule set, but do want to have other rules than just the core rules.
Yeah,
Complicated, more.
yeah. Like I said, it looks very interesting. So I'll probably get it when it eventually comes out. You can go back it on Kickstarter if you think it's worth backing. I think they've hit their goal, but you can give them more money. They've got like 13 days to go before it ends. So, do what you will of it. Anyways, but yeah, moving on to the next bit of news. This one is more gaming related, and video gaming related, not like, you know what I mean. So, Elden Ring, the next video game the next video game to come out of FromSoft, the guys that made Dark Souls and stuff, it has hosting a closed network test. So specifically, you can I'm not going to go into all the details about it, but basically they're hosting a closed network test. So you can go sign up on their website to be picked to play the game on like a network test. So they're testing out the network and play the game, and you have to like report back to them for like bug issues and stuff like that. And the sign up period is until the 1st of November, and then the network test itself is going to be hosted from November 12th to the November 14th. And it's just to point out, it's a console test only. So you have to have a PS4, PS5, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, or Xbox Series XS to play the game and participate in the closed network test. This is more just general news, but I thought it was super interesting. So the first, probably not footage, since I don't think you can film the network test, but the first like major gameplay information will start coming out of Elden Ring, which is cool. We'll start to see more stuff about that. Also, as a side note, Elden Ring has been delayed to February of next year. Okay. Specifically, I believe it was originally to come out in January, but it's been delayed to February 25th, 2020, which is, to be fair, only 4 months away. Ain't that crazy? How are there only 2 months left in the year? I don't even understand. But yeah, that's about it for that. I know both of you are excited about it. With your PS4s and all Xbox.
Yeah, that tech that I definitely have.
Yeah, you two are definitely super excited about it.
Oh yeah, I know a lot about it too.
You've played all of the Dark Souls games, and you're big fans.
Yeah. We know about all the Eldens and all the rings and all of it.
Yeah, you know all of the complex lore of the Dark Souls series.
Yep.
Yep, definitely. Anyways, yeah. So
yep.
I guess this is more like a public service announcement. Like, you can go sign up for the test. I can't because I don't have the ability to do so. I would love to do so, but I can't. But yeah, Elden Ring also just generally, it looks really cool. So, it's from Soft. I'm interested in the game because I'm a massive nerd who loves Dark Souls. Anyways, so that's. Oh yeah, I guess I'll just report on a few minor things in terms of the major gaming space, which is new Critical Role campaign is afoot. That's the third one. So you can go, I think the first episode came out like a day ago. So you can go watch the new Critical Role campaign if you care about it. I don't think any of us care about it, but you can if you want to.
Okay.
Also, like, generally speaking, there's a cartoon being made about their first campaign, which is actually pretty cool. And also, Critical Role is just becoming more intertwined with D&D as a whole and Wizards of the Coast. Like, more of their stuff is becoming, oh, that's right, there's an actual book, like an actual like player's guide to the Critical World world. What was I saying? Critical Role world. There we go. Coming out. That's the main thing I wanted to. Not the main thing. That's one of the things I want to talk about. It's being officially published by Wizards of the Coast, and it's all like official. It's officially part of D&D. Their campaign settings are official.
Okay.
So they are officially part of the D&D universe at this point.
I
and
feel
like
happy for Matt Mercer.
Same. I was about to say that.
A lot of work into that. That's
same. I was gonna say, like, I am super happy for him, and I would if I was at Mercer, I would be super fucking stoked to have something I spent time and worked on to be officially recognized as a D&D product. I would be super happy about that. The other side of that, though, is that I don't know. Maybe I'm just being too cynical, but part of me doesn't enjoy what Critical Role has done as like I don't have any ill will towards Critical Role or any of the people part of that. They're all great.
It's caused change.
Just it has nothing to do with what they've done personally. It has everything to do with like the cultural impact that Critical Role has had.
Yeah, it's changed people's expectations of what they want from D&D.
Yeah, not only that, it's also like widely increased the audience of D&D to a point that I'm not even sure I enjoy to that degree. I don't know. Like there's a lot of fans.
It's commercialized your thingy. It's like
I suppose you could put it that way.
I'm that guy who played Minecraft back when Minecraft wasn't cool to play a few years ago.
You mean when I told you about it?
Yeah. No. Well, like there was a period of time, I think it was 2013 or 2016 to 2000 something rather, where Minecraft was on a decline and it wasn't
You mean
cool to play anymore.
1.9?
Well, yeah, Minecraft.
I remember this because I remember having conversations with kids who go to school.
Well, Minecraft certainly did fall off the map slightly, but some of that comes from the fact that it was really not doing successful anything on YouTube, and it also comes from the fact that the kids who grew up playing it were in their teenager years and they thought it was lame.
And now they don't. Then the Nether update came out and they went, oh, it's cool again.
And I thought Avatar: The Last Airbender was one of the greatest shows, and now it's on Netflix. And so, fine, it's a great show, but everyone knows it now, so I have to choose something else.
Well, like I get
that's not how that works.
Like
that's how I work.
I fully admit and understand how pretentious and stupid it sounds to say something like that, but it doesn't stop how I feel about it. I understand the implication of that fact. But
no, it makes sense.
Yeah, like I don't want to be that guy that's like my thing is commercialized and it has people in it that I don't want in it. But it is what it is, you know. I don't want to be that guy. I just am. I guess overall
you can't deny feeling.
I guess
look, Aaron, let's do a very equal example. So you have a town and you like this town. You've lived in this town for a long time.
I can already say where this is going.
This town is an analogy for D&D. But then a bunch of drug dealers move into town and start dealing drugs to the kids in your town. And you don't really want to be that guy saying, oh, the drug dealers are bad. We need to get them out of here because then they'll shoot.
I was going to say, a lot of people kind of make fun of and don't want to be like the gatekeepers or discuss gated communities and stuff like that. And it's like, I'm not going to agree or say in any way that having the gates up at all isn't necessarily a good thing, because there are problems with gated communities or just gatekeeping in general. There are problems with that. But I think there's a level at which it sort of becomes like, bandwagoning. It's like people are doing it because it's popular, not because they enjoyed it before or because they'll join it afterwards. It's because it's popular and big, so people jump aboard it. And I feel like that kind of happened to D&D like about a year or so ago, like really big. About 2 years ago is when the bandwagoning for D&D really exploded in popularity. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. More people playing D&D isn't necessarily a bad thing. If they enjoy it, then they enjoy it, and that's all that matters. It doesn't matter how I personally feel about any of that. It just matters that they're having fun. That's all that matters. But part of it is sort of like this idea that we have these spaces. And this is going to sound stupid, but it's this idea that like people were called nerds because they liked this, and now the people that called them nerds are a part of it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's essentially it's this thing where niche communities get bigger, and now the people that made fun of them are a part of the community.
Yeah.
And that doesn't feel good, because not only were they making fun of you for it, they are now a part of it and probably a bigger fan of it than you ever were at that time. So it just kind of hurts from that perspective to see that happen and just be like, I don't, like, why? I endured the being made fun of, and now you're just a part of my community. It also doesn't help that, I'm not saying there are a lot of them, but new people who jump on to things because of a bandwagon don't really care about what it is. So ultimately, if they see something wrong with it where there isn't something wrong, maybe orcs, I don't know, they'll like petition against it. Anyway,
does this actually happen though?
I mean,
they did.
Not on like
no,
a
it did.
grand
It actually happened. I no. There was an internal document from Wizards where people were talking about how they need to change orcs. I remember this now.
I mean, I'm not going to say it was large, but there was definitely a few. I feel like one of the largest things was, what was that channel called? Game Doc? It doesn't matter. But like, there was definitely a decent enough amount of people who were complaining about orcs to get Wizards of the Coast to notice.
Because they didn't come from, they didn't have the full history, or because they just, I don't know. Or maybe they're right. Maybe orcs are somehow magically racist.
They aren't, but
maybe it's projecting.
I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Well, for those of you who don't know, about a year or two ago, there were a bunch of complaints from people who thought orcs were racist. They aren't racist. And if you think orcs, okay, I'm just going to say this. This is something we can all agree with. If you look at an orc and immediately think black person, I think you might have a problem. I'm just saying. I think you might have a problem. If you immediately associate the image of an orc with that of a minority, I think you might be the problem. I think that's something we can all agree on moving forward. But yeah, what was I talking about? How did I get back on D&D? Wait, where was it? What was I talking about? Oh, right, Critical Role. That's what I was talking about. Lost my train of thought. Anyways, yes, new Critical Role campaign and new stuff coming out of D&D. All of that good stuff. So yeah, that's about it for that, I suppose, unless you guys want to talk about anything else. or something. I don't know.
I'm still looking through. I'm trying to figure out where this quote is, because it's a really good quote.
What quote are you looking
quote,
for?
The part where the dude's saying like, the part where Gary says something about something about people.
All right, then you can keep looking.
Well, it's like recently there was the thing where they changed, or they wanted to change chair. Okay, recently, many years ago, there was a push to change chairman to chairperson.
Right.
Because women can be chair people too, but it sounds stupid.
I mean,
to me, because chairman, it might come from chairman, but woman comes from
I'd like
man.
to point out that none of those.
We're not gonna go whoop person, because whoop person.
The man in all of those is referring to human.
Mm-hmm.
It's not referring to man,
right,
the gender. It's referring
also
to the human species.
Right, but we're all Hugh people now.
We're humans.
No, because it's sexist.
You know what? If you want to be real fucking about it, just call it Gar Homo sapien. There you fucking go.
Gar Homo sapien.
Garbage Homo sapien. There you go. We're all garbage Homo sapiens.
Sure, that works.
Enjoy your life. Anyways.
Anyways,
yeah. So to end off the news segment, I want to talk about an article I found defending the price increase of Nintendo Switch Online Plus thing. I don't know. This seemed like a bigger moment in my head. So, okay, when I was looking up stuff before the podcast, I found this article by, and also I'm not big enough for this to care, but so there's this website called Inverse, and they have a news section about video games, specifically, and like, I don't know if this article is very funny to read. The article is titled Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pack Price Hike Isn't Absurd, but the response sure is. So that's funny. Also, it's by Cult of Nintendo, so maybe that should have been a tip off as to the types of people that wrote this. I don't know. This is a very, very funny article to me. It's not super long, but it is genuinely ridiculous because it's essentially, it feels kind of like, it feels satirical. When I read it, it felt very satirical. And I don't think it's supposed to be satirical. Because okay, like the language they use isn't super over the top, and like it's technically a very reasonable argument they're making. But at the same time, it is actually kind of ridiculous. They're essentially positing that $50 a year is not a lot. And like, I guess overall, maybe it isn't, but it very much isn't. The $50 you're paying a year isn't what you're getting for that $50 is not worth that $50 at all. And this is why I discussed this earlier in the news section. But like, like this article makes me laugh because of the weirdness of it. Like it feels, I know this is going to sound weird, but it feels like the person who wrote this has probably never experienced poverty in their life. It's written in a very like, you remember, okay, I don't know if you two know this, but do you remember that girl who on stream do you remember that girl who said like, if you can't afford $5 a month, then you shouldn't be donating to me or something? Or like, what was it? Like, $5. There was this girl on stream who
Yeah.
went viral, and she was talking about how $5 a month isn't a lot of money, and if you can't afford that, then you have a problem or something. I don't remember what it was specifically.
I think I remember thinking about that.
Sounds like it's written with the same mindset that she had. That's what the article feels like. It feels like it was written by somebody who who doesn't really get what poverty is, or like, what was the I don't know, like there isn't really like any for choice from this article that I can read out per se, but like it does really feel like it was written by somebody who just didn't understand that money can sometimes not be a large problem. It really does feel like that. And they also in the article try to compare apples to oranges in regards to, like, they try and compare a mobile game having microtransactions to this. So they, in the article, they compared that paying $5 a month for a gold pass in a Nintendo mobile game, which would come to $60 a year, is worse than this, but somehow is worse than this, but it's like, oh, but that game has like, pretty high reviews anyway, so it probably isn't it's probably not a problem at all. People will just forget about this and move on. It also mentions the whole like boycott Pokemon Sword and Shield thing, and it's like, yeah, the reason Pokemon Sword and Shield still sold a lot was because kids bought it, and Pokemon is mainly marketed at kids. Yeah. Because of the whole like Dexit thing where the whole Pokedex wasn't included in Pokemon Sword and Shield. You remember that, right? But like, it's just a very fascinating
That was fun.
It's a very fascinating article. But the one thing I do want to say, when they're comparing in the article the mobile game, my response to that was, well, the mobile game market is a vastly different market to that of the AAA gaming sphere. The reason people don't complain about microtransactions is because that's been the case in the mobile gaming market for over 10 years. Like, that's just what the mobile gaming market is like. People are used to and accept that you have to pay real money to actually get anywhere in certain mobile games. They accept that fact because that's the type of person that plays mobile games. The type of person that plays mobile games is not the same type of person that plays console games or PC games or anything in the AAA gaming market. They just aren't the same person or market. Comparing these two things is stupid and negligible.
Yeah.
Because obviously the mobile gaming market isn't going to care about a $60 overall fee for something like that because they're used to it.
I found it, by the way.
What, the quote you're looking for?
Yep.
All right, then. Good for you. Yeah.
But yeah, comparing apples and oranges, because I think this is actually really, I think this is something that was touched on by there was someone looking at the sexes in gaming and how in actuality there's a lot more women in gaming than gamers would say, but in actuality,
if you look at the actual statistic, like there's been studies doing statistics and it's like 49-51, I think. I'm pretty sure it's like it's almost an even split in terms of like actual statistics.
Here's the thing though. Right. Well, here's the thing. You have the statistics, and then you have the actual statistics, and then you have the actual statistics. So gamers, people who play games a lot and who are like Xbox games and stuff, define gamer as different than the people who made the study that compared that said that men and women were split roughly evenly. because it is true, men and women are split roughly evenly in terms of the number of people who play video games.
Yeah.
But if you define video game as like PC gamer and that kind of thing, the typical gamer type gamer, women are a much smaller proportion because women tend to play other types of games. They don't tend to be Xbox players as much.
I mean,
they tend to play like phone games and stuff, which is what was used in the sample. Because this is the thing with that study is they included app games.
Yeah, if
like
you
Candy
include
Crush.
I mean, I suppose. But like at the same time.
But the thing is, those are games. Those just aren't the same games that are in the male-dominated zones.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I mean,
women
there are
don't
definitely like
want to play those for some reason. It's as if biology or our cultural nature of how we nurture our children affects how our children choose to play games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, I thought you were going to mention something about the article, but yes, that is a thing. But yeah, just
I don't know the article.
No, but like overall,
it sounds like the basic excuse she's using is which it sound logic, but it sounds like it's basically if you're playing video games, you have the extra money, and if the video games get more expensive, but they're also giving you something, then you can take it. And if you don't want it, then you don't have to buy it, because you don't have to buy the video games. And it's like, right, but if they're anti-consumer, they're still anti-consumer.
Yeah, it's not. And also, it's weird because sometimes, I know this is like off topic, but sometimes I personally, as like my own opinion forms, kind of become anti-consumer almost. It's not really anti-consumer. It's just kind of like, because the customer is not always right. That's not a true thing. It's just something companies tell you because they're too afraid to lose money. People are stupid and sometimes make bad decisions. And sometimes you realize that maybe these consumers/customers are not really in the right or have the knowledge that would be required of them. So, anyways. But yeah, what Nintendo has done is super. I know this is like going back to the first thing I said, but overall, this article is just kind of fun to read. It also ends with, I think, one of the funniest things ever, because it's like, it's all read. In the meantime, if you're excited about playing Mario Kart 64 with friends online for the first time ever, want to try out heralded Japanese-only release Sin and Punishment, or are planning to play vaunted classic Super Mario 64, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time on your Switch, you can buy a replica Nintendo 64 controller for $50, but you'll have to wait for the moment. They're already sold out. And it's this idea that like, it's like this icing on the cake of like, if you don't care about it, just buy. It's this thing of like,
money isn't real.
This is one of those things where it kind of makes me feel like it's satirical, because it's like Nintendo are also selling a replica N64 controller for like the modern console, and that's like another $50 on top of that if you want that, because Nintendo controllers are stupidly expensive for some reason.
Wow.
Any Nintendo product period is never going to go down in price, and it will always be $60. It is ridiculous. That's a different thing. And it does bring up something that I was going to say. It's like, I mean, yeah, they're adding online features to some of these games. Online features are a thing in some of these games. They're adding some of them. And they're also adding Sin and Punishment, which was originally a Japanese only release. But you could go play it on your computer for free if you wanted to. So it's just kind of this weird thing where it all kind of comes down to oh yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I just remembered. I just want to read this to you really quickly.
Okay.
So yeah, so This is a paragraph that I think is very funny and goes into why I feel like the person who wrote this is what they are in regards to what I said. So Nintendo has a history of inciting ridiculous reactions, both positive and negative. It kind of makes sense. The company is in the business of entertainment, offering a much needed respite from the mundane nature of day-to-day living. Fans are fanatical by definition. When that new thing, whatever it is, brings you hope and joy, you might cry like those who watch Sora become the final new character in Smash Bros. Ultimate. When that new thing brings disappointment, many lash out. What you should do is take a breath, consider your priorities, eat a grilled cheese sandwich, and go walk your dog. Do anything but the digital temper tantrum we have come to expect as part of our living in our connected world. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like, God, it's just this, the way it's worded and the way it's just really funny to me. It's just like, especially that last part where it's like, you're crazy for asking this company to do something reasonable. Why don't you go do something in the real world, you internet crazy?
Yeah, don't bully big companies. Don't bully big companies.
It really does. It really is like
they're people too. The company has feelings somehow.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Anyways, that's all I have for that article. I just wanted to point it out because
no, Aaron, this ties into like companies have personalities now. They have Twitter accounts.
Yeah, I know.
People friendship for companies. How the fuck did we get here?
Because Twitter, that's why.
No, just imagine in the past, like some guy is like George Orwell wrote 1984, and he's like, in the future we'll be controlled by stuff. He comes to the future, it's like, oh my gosh, people are friends with these massive corporations that do horrible things in other countries and have really bad pasts, but like no one cares because they're sassy on Twitter.
It's ridiculous.
Whoa.
It's like, it is genuinely ridiculous.
On the keyboard.
And like, even I, like, it's one of those things where even I kind of fall into treating the company as an individual. Because I say like, oh, this company did that or this company did this. Fall into this pit of like referring to companies as a unit or of an individual or like, I
mean, they kind of are.
Yeah, but like,
they don't have personality.
They don't have personalities. They don't have personalities or anything like that. But you do kind of sometimes fall into this pit of talking about a company as if it's a singular unit of like, this happened because this company did this instead of this happened because this person in this company did this. You know what I mean? It's like companies are made up of thousands of individuals.
Yeah. We
should treat those people as individuals and get rid of the ones that are the bad ones. You know what I mean?
True. And hold people accountable for their decisions, not the company accountable for the person's decisions.
Yeah, because like,
oh, that's interesting.
Because like, let's talk about Activision for a second, where it's like, I've talked about Bobby Kotick before, but like, nothing he's done. Like, also, I'm not going to talk about the whole. There was a lot of like major stuff regarding Activision like a couple months ago, in regards to like working conditions and stuff, but. Like, the main reason Bobby Kotick is so wealthy and gets so much money is because of the shareholders and the position he's in. And like, I can't deny that if I was in a position, I wouldn't just keep accepting money. Like, I can't say I wouldn't do that. He's essentially getting free money from people who don't care about anything. Like, I can't say I wouldn't do that.
Wow.
I don't think anybody would say they wouldn't do that. You'd have to be altruistic to the ever-loving fuck to deny that much free money. Like,
wow.
So like, I can't say like, I can't say it's his fault that he's like, I can't say it's his fault this is the way it is. It's just the nature of the company and how he got his position. So like, so when you treat companies as individuals, you really have to look at like that's the other problem is like sometimes you get like faces of companies, which are like people in charge or people that do these things instead of people on the ground that make the company what it is. You know? So you have like faces of companies who are literally that. They are the face of a company instead of doing any of the work that the company actually does. And then they get paid surplus because reasons. Anyways, I've gotten off topic, but yeah, ultimately going back to topic, ultimately this article I brought up just because of how hilarious it is and how much it feels like satire to a degree. It feels like something the Onion would post, you know?
I want to
really
see. Do you think you could post it or send it to me?
It's in the Discord.
It's in the Discord. We have a Discord.
Yeah, I know. Remember?
Yes, Devin.
I put a lot of the stuff we talk about in there. Do you remember? But like the link to the article is there. But it's on a website called Inverse. It's by Cult of Nintendo, and the article itself is called "Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pack Price Hike Isn't Absurd, but the Response Sure Is." So if you really want to just look it up, you can. Anyways, also I know not a lot of people watch our content as it is. Don't like go to this website or like don't be mean. You know what I mean? Just don't go out of your way to be jackasses to this website or these people in particular. I'm highlighting it just because of how hilarious and weird this article is. So yeah.
If you were planning, if someone has grumpiness towards the people who wrote this, you should like genuinely just like calm down a little bit. It's and just laugh.
I mean, yeah, like it's real funny. It is a very funny article to me.
Because no matter whether you have a dog or not, or if you're poor or not, you can still laugh.
You can still laugh at how upper middle class this person is.
Hey, and if you're upper middle class, you can laugh at yourself too.
Yes.
As we have.
You'd have to be self-aware first, though. Anyways, yes, that's the end of the what?
Can I read this paragraph?
Sure, go for it.
Okay.
I was gonna say that's the end of the news, but go for it.
It's because the thing is, Gygax is not a sexist, and it wasn't even like a political thing at the time. So what he was writing is he says, even with such, it's in the middle of a sentence talking about social class and rank in the medieval age, and like how the fact that noble people and peasants were like different people.
Yeah.
So even with such ready-made campaign settings, you may or may not wish to include social classes immediately for player characters. My own Greyhawk campaign, for example, assumes that all characters, unless I personally place one as otherwise, are free men or gentlemen, like gentlemen, like part of the upper class.
Yeah, gentlemen.
Yeah. Or at worst, they can safely represent themselves to be so. Note that the masculine/human usage is generic. I do not like terms like free creatures or gentle beings. Outstanding activity has brought the knighthood or status and blah, 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 blah. And it continues talking about other stuff. And I just remember reading that at the time where people were changing chairman to chairperson and just being like, chair being.
I mean, like, you know,
it works better than chairperson. It's chair being.
Chair being. I am a chair Homo sapien.
Yeah.
We're all Homo sapiens.
The funny thing is, I actually agree with the assessment that like woodsman or headsman or whatever has a sexist orientation because the headsmen were always men. I mean, or like chairman, the chairman was always a man. Like
I do
totally.
get it.
But you can still have the chairman be a chairman and a woman now.
Thing, right?
We don't have to change it to be something else because then it's something else. We don't need chair people wandering around. It just makes me think of people at chairs.
Well, that's the I get that some of it does, but ultimately it does come down to the fact that
I have deeply ingrained sexism.
Whenever man has been a part of, whenever the suffix man has been a part of another word, it is referring to human.
Yeah.
Like the being, because we are part of the human race.
So our language is deeply sexist.
I mean, if you want to put it that way, I guess, but it doesn't really matter anymore. Like,
No,
maybe
really
it was when it was created, but that doesn't, like, it just is what it is. And that's just the English language. Let's not even get into different languages. Like, the suffix of man is just like a general thing. And it comes from Latin, ancient Latin. Because English comes from Latin. A lot of it does. So a lot of our stuff comes from weird random suffixes, and the fact that every species and plant and stuff has a Latin name.
Mm-hmm.
Their true name, their scientific Latin name.
The jargon name.
Yeah, the jargon name that we keep doing just because it's tradition. When we find new species.
What's that? That's Daniflecius copopoli, the blopity.
Yeah.
Looks like a flower. It is. It is a flower.
But anyways,
what's that? It's also a flower. Let's not worry about all the specific names of everything. Leave that for scientists who actually need to worry about differentiating them.
Yeah. But anyways,
oh my gosh. Just imagine a story where there's like a scientist who learned all of these very specific words, and he brings his girlfriend a bushel of flowers, and he just starts listing off the scientific names of them.
That'd be real annoying.
It'd be cute.
I mean, it would, but it also, you know what I mean.
It would be annoying, but it would be cute. Human and drive.
Anyways, but yeah, that's the end of the news segment.
The word man refers to the species or humanity of mankind as a whole. I figured out what we need. We need a new word for males.
No.
Yes, we have women. We need men. Memen are men. Memen. Yeah, memen and women. Moman.
No.
We do not need moman. Memen. Memen just sounds stupid.
Well, man is flipping upside down the W.
Lemman.
Zoman.
Zoman. No, that sounds weird.
But like,
what's a good match?
Dornoff.
Yeah.
Woman.
We have women and memen.
Woman uses the man suffix.
No, I know, but that's the thing. We'll have men have a man suffix attached to the word man, so that the word man can be gender neutral.
I mean, I
guess. And memen now refers to male. Memen sounds stupid though.
Listen,
writing is becoming a pain nowadays.
It's not too late, I suppose, but in the grand scheme of language, it kind of is.
But the word man, I just looked it up. The word man is gender neutral. So we need men to stop claiming this gender neutral word to also be them. And men need to have a new word.
But it's multiple, but it has multiple definitions.
Yeah.
I mean,
just leave it with multiple
we already
definitions.
have, listen, if you really want to do this, just refer to everybody as boy and girl. There you go. Problem fucking solved.
Okay. But what about men? What about men who don't want to be referred to as boys?
Fuck them.
Do it anyway.
I don't know. I'm not a linguistic man.
I'd love to talk to a linguist about this, though.
They'd probably be very annoyed.
They probably would be. I mean, okay, a good-natured linguist.
No, I say that in jest. It's like, no, if you're a linguist, you probably have a passion for your job and are probably very interested in the weirdnesses of language. So I highly doubt they would be annoyed at all if you ask them any of these questions. You don't become a linguist to have people. That's the thing. You don't become a linguist to so you can get annoyed at people for asking you about language. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that would be a little counterproductive.
That's a good point.
That'd be like becoming a therapist and then getting annoyed that people are talking to you.
Stop telling me all your problems. What do you think my job is?
Exactly. It's ridiculous.
Why does everyone I talk to have so many problems?
What about my problems?
That'd be a kind of funny movie. A movie that's just called The Therapist, or something. It's like just the same word over and over.
Every therapist is
That would
also
be
their
hilarious.
patient's therapist. No, sorry. Every patient is also their therapist's therapist. There you go. That's what I was trying to say.
And what could be really funny is if the whole cycle was started by one of the therapists driving another one insane. So he went to a therapist and he went to a therapist, and it circled around and came back. And this guy intentionally caused the whole chain just to get this guy to come to him. That'd be a kind of dumb plot twist, though.
That'd be
It's my master plan.
That'd be real dumb. But yeah, language is dumb sometimes, but also language is dumb, but it's also interesting. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
How to make the word man gender neutral once again.
What are you looking up?
I'm looking up how to make the word man gender neutral once again.
Once again? What do you mean once again? Like whatever. The term man, I'm just saying the term man is the suffix itself. I get that it's weird like that, but the term man is the suffix. I guess you could do man. I don't know.
Oh, fudge. Okay. I think I'm just being antagonistic to everyone now, because I looked up how to remove gender from the word man, and the top thing on Google is someone saying you shouldn't use the word man as gender neutral.
It doesn't matter. You're never going to get an agreeable person in the world, because nobody in the world is agreeable about anything. The only time we can agree about something is when we're fighting.
For inducing male bias in language, you're going to have a hard time with Spanish. I have taken some Spanish classes. You're going to have a really hard time with hard darn time with Spanish.
Listen.
Yeah. And a lot of languages that use that sort of thing.
I mean, there are several languages that don't technically have gender-specific words for man and woman. They have words that denote specific people of a specific type. It is not necessarily gender-specific, though. I think German does that. I don't remember the word specifically, but they have, because it's kind of like in Japanese, where this is, I don't know. Anyways, I think Japanese is also like this. I know that Japanese doesn't have a word for brother specifically. They have,
Yes, it does.
it has multiple words for different types of brother, but it doesn't have a word for brother. It has words for like older brother, younger brother, and like another type, but it doesn't have a word for brother. Like if you just wanted to say brother, it doesn't have that. Anyways, Devin, what's up? Hello? Damn, he's frozen. All right, then.
All right, it's a 2-person podcast now.
No, this is a bad thing. Anyways, I'm
the
just
most
gonna...
interesting of us in this podcast, and Aaron.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not a person. You're the host now.
I am?
No, I don't know.
How does this podcast work again?
I'm terrified. I wasn't prepared for this. No. Anyways, I'm just gonna say, so that's the end of the news, since we've severely gotten off topic and one of our hosts has completely disappeared. But yeah, That's the news segment. I'm gonna briefly ask you if you have another host topic before we move on.
I don't.
All right then.
Yeah,
I
wouldn't
don't.
have.
I don't either. So I guess that's the end of the podcast. Because that's
Well, Devin left.
well, that's unfortunate. All right then. I guess I'll just start ending the podcast. Okay. So yes, thank you. Thank you all.
Find out what happened. Texting him.
Words. What the hell was I saying? This is the worst ending ever. So, oh wait, no, that's not ending. What am I doing? I forgot. I completely skimmed over shameless self-promotion. What the hell is wrong with me?
Oh no, you don't want us to promote ourselves.
That's right.
How
You
dare
don't get to promote at all.
How
Quickly.
dare you, Aaron, stop us from definitely promoting things?
Quickly promote yourself before I die.
I do things technically. I have 2 channels, Mystical Meanderings and Thologram.
All right. Is that it?
I am currently working on too many things. So
Do you nothing's coming out, nothing's coming up, nothing's happening, nothing's
No.
happening. Really? Okay then. Well, that's fun now, isn't it? All right, welcome to the new section of the podcast I like to call Science and You. Let's talk about anyway, okay, so that's it. Okay. That's fine. I guess I'll shamelessly self-promote myself since Devin's on.
I'm also on Twitch.
I feel like you have to at least post something to be on Twitch.
I did stream at one point.
I mean, that recording is gone.
That's not my point. I want to stream, I just don't have good enough internet to really do it properly.
All right, then. Well, like I've said many a time before, I'll just get to myself. Like I've said many a time before, episodes will come out. They will happen. It doesn't matter if there's a lull in the week, or if they come out consistently every Sunday. They will happen. So that's a thing. I'm also just suffering from overchoice of what I have the ability to do, but I have some things in the work that will come out eventually. I don't know. I don't have like details about many things in my life. Every time I sit down to write something, I just think about the 10 other things I want to write. It's real bad.
Yeah, that happens. Internet happened for Devin.
Yeah, I'm not horribly surprised by that fact. Like I've also said this on many occasions, but I really just do not use Twitter at all. I really don't. I will post on Twitter when new episodes come out and updates if that's really worthy or necessary. Maybe I'll link a couple somethings. I don't know. I just don't use Twitter. I'm an old man who doesn't understand why Twitter is a thing that anybody would use or need.
No, I don't really understand it either, but it's entertaining sometimes just to look at people going insane.
Yeah, I don't know, man. All right then. See if you can get something out of Devin real quick for both a goodbye and a promotion before we.
I have an idea.
Wait, what are you doing?
I'm calling him.
Oh no, wait, what? Why would you do that? This is gonna be terrible sounding.
I'm hiding his number.
Well, obviously. Why would you even face the don't do that?
Hey, shamelessly self-promote.
Me?
Yes.
Can you hear
Hi,
me?
I'm Devin. You can find me on Devin Wafu Gaming or the Upstart Ragamuffin.
Yeah.
That's it.
Devin, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, that's actually kind of surprising.
You sound like you're drowning, but yes, I can hear you.
Help me! Help! I'm drowning. No. But yeah, we're in the shapeless self. We're shamelessly self-promoting. That's why that happened. Also, I'm assuming you're not coming back on. That's why we called
Well,
you.
I'm trying.
Yeah. Well, anyways. Yeah. On top of that, I've already shamelessly self-promoted myself. So we're at the end of the podcast. Is the main thing. So I'm just gonna say, thank you all so much for watching this episode of the GTD Podcast. And yeah, this is certainly unending.
All right, I'm gonna hang up, Devin.
Oh wait, what?
Devin hung up first. That's why he hung up.
Oh, good. I'm glad that somehow your internet came back just in time. Never mind.
For half a second. So yeah.
Well, thank you all so much for watching this episode of the GTD Podcast. Tune in next time for more stuff. You can find the podcast on SoundCloud and YouTube for those of you who don't watch the videos themselves. I don't know. I've always been weirdly coy about where you can find the podcast. I don't know why. I don't know why. There's video versions and sound only versions. So for those who want to actually see our dumbass faces, you can go to YouTube.
And they get to see a frozen Devin if they go to YouTube.
Yeah. Why don't you call Devin back so we can at least get a goodbye from him real quick?
Yeah, I'll do that.
So yeah. Thanks for oh yeah, I guess do all the things. Share the cast of the pod variety around to your friends, family, and enemies, if you have any. And I don't know, enjoy life. I don't know. I'm just stalling.
What, Devin? Oh, I think he's trying to rejoin.
No, don't do that. We need to leave.
Well, he hung up immediately, so.
Welp. I can't keep this going forever, so I guess you're just not gonna get a goodbye from him. Thank you all so much for watching this episode. See you all next week. Or time.
All the cats say bye to you. Bye.
You know what I mean. I hate endings.